Hey, everybody, this is Adam Olson on the Football and Other Things podcast. I am now going to go over the Premier Central Conference. I told you in the previous episode that I was going to do two. I changed my mind, called an audible, check, Omaha, Omaha, as Peyton Manning would say, and I'm doing one. So, hey, man, I'm 40. I do what I want. So the Premier Central Conference, you have Cincinnati, Kansas, Kansas State, Kentucky, Louisville, Missouri, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Tennessee, Vanderbilt, and West Virginia. So what you have here is a mix of Big 12 schools. You have a mix of SEC East schools. You have a mix of schools that are being promoted. And Louisville is in the ACC? Where's Louisville? Come on, Olson. Are they in the AAC? Come on, Olson. Hey, this is an opportunity for all my loyal listeners to correct me on that. I'm having a brain fart. I can't remember what conference Louisville is actually in, but it doesn't matter. You know why it doesn't matter? Here's why it doesn't matter. Because they are in Adam Olson's world, and in Adam Olson's world with the Adam Olson as the FBS commissioner, Cincinnati is in the Premier Central Conference. Cincinnati's done a great job. A couple of years ago, they played in the college football playoff. They were one of the top 4 teams voted in. They were the first group of 5 team voted in, and they had 9 players drafted off of that team. Just imagine that. The University of Cincinnati had 9 players drafted in the NFL draft off of a team. No wonder they went to the college football playoff. They lost to Alabama. In some of the earlier episodes, I talked about how hard it is to win a national championship this past season with TCU making it. But last year, the fact that Cincinnati made it to the dang college football playoff, that's remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. And Luke Fickell finally got a Power 5 job. Now he's at Wisconsin. So we shall see how Scott Satterfield handles the transition both in real life into the Big 12 as well as in the Adam Olson multiverse where they are in the Premier Central. So Cincinnati has been promoted. That's why they are blue. Kansas is in danger. They are in red. I know Kansas was everybody's darling. They were the Cinderella story this year. College Game Day was at Kansas, and good for them. Lance Leipold in year 2 has really helped pick up the momentum. He's improved recruiting, but they've just done a really solid job there of player development, and I think that's why they went from 2 wins in his first season to 6 wins in his second season. Kansas actually finished with a losing record this year. They went 6-7. They lost their bowl game, but compared to how things have been under prior regimes, Kansas is doing a lot better. We've seen Kansas hit their ceiling when Mark Mangino was there in 2007. We know that Kansas can get back there. And if there's any coach that can do it, it's Lance Leipold. So Kansas, you're in the Premier Central, but you're one of those danger teams. I'm watching you because if Lance Leipold does too good there and he gets a bigger job, chances are you're going to be in real trouble. Next is Kansas State. Chris Kleiman has done a solid job there. Guess what? Kansas State was your Big 12 champs this past season. Kansas State, you definitely belong in the Premier Central. And I think that you have a really good chance of repeating as a conference champion. Granted, it is in the Premier Central. There's no longer the Big 12. Kentucky, here we go. Our first SEC import. I love this. I love the fact that now we get a team in the SEC and a team that's done really well. Mark Stoops has elevated Kentucky football to the point to where now he has enough clout to when he gets into a Twitter tiff with the head basketball coach, John Calipari, people don't just jump all over Mark Stoops. They jump all over John Calipari because Kentucky's supposed to be great at basketball, but they're not supposed to be great at football. And they're always really good. They're competitive. Kentucky continuously produces elite level defenses, but they're so sporadic on offense, it's really hurt them from taking that next step. Louisville. Jeff Brom, the prodigal son, returns. I think Jeff Brom's going to do a great job at Louisville. Scott Satterfield left. And Louisville is a team that, quite honestly, Louisville, that school and those collectives love to spend money. So Louisville can compete with all the teams in this conference. Missouri, Eli Drinkwitz. Missouri, you get to go back to basically Big 12 country, and that's where you belong. We get to renew that rivalry with Nebraska, okay? And you get to go ahead and start some type of new rivalry with Louisville. And then we got Louisville and Kentucky with the Bluegrass State rivalry. This is great. You got Nebraska. Let's see. The Scott Frost experiment failed. I thought Scott Frost was a great hire at Nebraska. But I will say this. Nebraska has bit off more than they can chew on multiple occasions. You fired Bo Pelini. I know Bo Pelini was an abrasive human being. I get it. You see him just chewing people out. But he also had that awesome Twitter account, the Faux Pelini, where he was wearing a sweater and holding a cat like Dr. Evil. I mean, that was cool. And Bo Pelini won 10 games multiple times. How close have you been to winning 10 games lately, Nebraska? You're a storied program, and I believe Matt Rule is going to help you trend upward. Oklahoma, I know you had a rough year one under Brent Venables. When Dylan Gabriel got hurt, Oklahoma was really in trouble. But I believe that Brent Venables is going to right the ship there. And Oklahoma, I think you're still in mourning over Lincoln Riley and Caleb Williams leaving you. Time heals all wounds, Oklahoma. And now, guess what? In the Premier Conference, the Premier Central Conference, you still get to keep that bedlam rivalry with Oklahoma State, which is important. That's good for your state. Tennessee, here we go. The Fighting Josh Heupels. In an earlier episode, I apologized to Josh Heupel. I thought he was a fraud. I was wrong. He is not a fraud. He has Tennessee rolling. And Tennessee brings that elite level SEC caliber team into the Premier Central Conference. What is that going to do to all those other teams in there? Well, how many easy outs do you have in that conference for a team like Tennessee? How many? Maybe one, maybe two. Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt is orange. They're a private school and they're a danger school. So Vanderbilt, you've got to become more competitive. Clark Lee is doing everything he can to keep you competitive. You got to do more. You got to win more. I think being in this Premier Central is going to help you out. I think you can be more competitive, but it remains to be seen as to whether or not you will be more competitive. You're in danger of being relegated. West Virginia. West Virginia, you're not quite on that relegation level yet. And Neil Brown, you did a great job when you were at Troy. But Neil Brown, you have not done a great job at West Virginia. And it's not going to be easy in the Premier Central. How many of those teams on a neutral field would West Virginia be favored against? Maybe one. Vanderbilt. So, to conclude, this is Adam Olson with the Football and Other Things podcast. And I, in this episode, talked about the Premier League Central, Cincinnati, Kansas, Kansas State, Kentucky, Louisville, Missouri, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Tennessee, Vanderbilt, and West Virginia.